Good Monday morning here from the National Weather Service in Raleigh, North Carolina. My name is James Morrow. I'm a meteorologist here, and I'm actually joined today by one of our newer meteorologists coming from the Pittsburgh Warning Forecast Office, Tom Green. Tom, thanks for joining us today for our webinar, and you'll likely be hearing Tom's voice on our Thursday webinar, which we're going to begin consistently beginning this week and continue on throughout the year. Just to give you guys a closer look, a more in-depth look into the weather to be expected this weekend. We'll actually be coming live to you twice a week, on Mondays at the regularly scheduled time and also Thursdays at 11:30. So you'll likely be hearing Tom's voice on Thursday as we progress into the latter portions of this week. Of course, if you're listening on this to this webinar on YouTube, I highly recommend visiting weather.gov/Raleigh for the latest weather information. As you are well aware, weather often changes on a dime, and the most updated forecast will be available at all times from our website, weather.gov/Raleigh. So, taking a quick look at what is currently going on out there, we have a little bit of a disturbance just off the coast, and that has led to some mid to lower level clouds here across the southeastern portions of central North Carolina. While most other areas remain relatively clear, we do have some upper level clouds that are going to be spilling overhead. And I'd say by about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock today, most of central North Carolina will see at least a couple of layers of clouds becoming mostly cloudy this afternoon and evening as a warm front progresses to the north. You're already seeing a little bit in the way of that showing up on visible satellite this morning. But we still have plenty of breaks in there, and that's going to allow temperatures to warm up well into the upper 50s or near 60 degrees in the Triad, mid 60s here in Raleigh to the southeast, and topping out just below 70 across the southeastern zones here in central North Carolina. And because of this increasing moisture, clouds overhead, and even some warmer air coming ashore, overnight low temperatures are going to be a good, 15 degrees warmer tomorrow morning compared to what they were today. Even though it's still going to be chilly out there in the Triad with lows in the lower 40s primarily, maybe mid 40s as we settle in. Speaking of cold temperatures, the last 3 days or so we've been inundated by frost and freeze products, especially across the central and western portions of the state. We have officially ended the growing season across the US 1 corridor and west. So any counties you see there in blue will no longer get frost and freeze products for the remainder of the winter, and those will once again commence once the growing season begins in the springtime. For the areas in green, we didn't quite get to the freezing point or below, at least in widespread areas. So we're going to continue the growing season into later this week. However, as we'll talk about, it looks like there's a good chance of ending that season across much of the state or the remainder of the state come Friday night into Saturday behind a cold front that's going to push through. We'll talk a little bit more in depth of that as we go forward. So taking a look at the upcoming weather pattern, we've got a few showers possible across the east later this afternoon into tonight, and those may linger into the pre-dawn hours tomorrow morning. By midweek, we'll have a cold front that pushes through tomorrow that could spur a couple of additional showers, but most areas should remain dry tomorrow with high pressure settling in briefly behind it by Wednesday. That high pressure will be dislodged by an area of low pressure late in the week, and that's going to bring the next chance of some maybe more widespread shower activity. Some discrepancies there in the models, so we're not really sure exactly how much precip is going to occur, but I think that's going to be your next best shot of seeing some precipitation with much cooler and colder air, probably the coldest air of the season filtering in the wake with this high pressure as it settles overhead. Friday night into Saturday especially, but maybe even lasting into the weekend ahead of the next weather system. So it definitely looks like we're going to remain in this pretty wet and cold pattern, or at least shots of wet and cold as we go through the next 7 to 10 days or so. In terms of thunderstorms, you may squeeze out a rumble of thunder or two across the coast, but that should remain south and east of our area both today and tomorrow. So we're not looking at great thunder chances, and certainly nothing in the way of severe weather potential over the next 3 to really 5 days or so. So later on today, you may have up to 1/10 of an inch of rain across the coastal plain, the I-95 corridor here in central North Carolina and parts east. That may linger into Tuesday as a cold front pushes through. Not a whole lot in the way of precipitation, but certainly up to 1/10 to maybe a localized 1/4 inch possible there. We start drying out Wednesday with the next shot of some maybe low-end precip arriving Thursday and Friday, but most of the rain looks to actually ignite as the cold front slides well to the south and east of our area, with drier conditions arriving Saturday and Sunday. And your 7-day total is anywhere from that 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch to maybe approaching a 1/2 inch of precipitation or so, with higher amounts as you approach the coast of North Carolina. So a quick summary of the week. Our front moves through Tuesday, bringing a chance of rainfall. Clouds will be thick overhead ahead of that front, and as that front goes through, becoming clear as high pressure settles in on Wednesday. Your warmest day of the week will be Thursday, where temperatures will approach the upper 60s, the low 70s across the coastal plain, ahead of a secondary, probably more robust front that could introduce shower activity here on Friday. Still a little bit of concern. This 50% Thursday night into Friday may be a tad bit high in the terms of probability of precipitation, but I know Tom's going to look really in depth on that later on this afternoon. And depending where you are, you do have the best chance of seeing rain at least in the next 7 days, likely in that Thursday night into Friday morning time period. Behind that front, much cooler air arrives, and by Friday night, we're going to actually see temperatures fall to at or well below freezing. We could have our first widespread hard freeze. So that's when temperatures get into the mid to upper 20s across the Triad region and areas west of US 1 corridor Friday night. So anything that hasn't frozen yet will likely see that freeze behind this boundary on Friday night into Saturday morning. And we look to have mostly clear to maybe partly cloudy skies Saturday and Sunday, with temperatures beginning to rise slowly Saturday into Sunday, but will still remain well below normal for this time of year, which is 68 over 44 degrees. So 68 during the day and 44 degrees in the evening. I know there's been a lot of talk, and I'm going to go ahead and end the pure presentation. So, of course, if you're looking for additional weather information as we go throughout the week, tune in Thursday to our next weather briefing or go to our website, weather.gov/Raleigh.